Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever this video finds you, I hope you're having a rad time. I'm the Figure Dude, and on today's Action Figure Showcase, we have the final installment of my Ruthless Aggression series. Without further ado, let's talk about some figures. Dude. Welcome back. Today, it is finally time to wrap up the Ruthless Aggression Showcase, for now, at least. We'll circle back around eventually, but this is going to be it for now, and then we're going to move on to maybe a different era, maybe look at a few different collections of just like some single guys I have, or tag teams. I don't know. We'll find something to do, but today, we're going to kick it off. Like I said, if you saw the last one, today is a lot of the like WWE, ECW guys. Kind of a weird time. I was kind of watching... I did enjoy ECW, like the kid version of myself enjoyed when they brought ECW back. I'm sure there's a lot of people that, like myself, thought like ECW was going to be back when they did the one night stand pay-per-views, but thus that was not what was going to happen. But I do think that we got some good stuff out of ECW, but maybe not ECW stuff. So anyway, these guys were pretty prominent on TV. I think on ECW quite a bit. We had Miz and Morrison, and this was very early. So Morrison had already been in Eminem, and then he was kind of off doing his own thing as Johnny Nitro, I think. The head scan on him is from a Jax figure, so it might not be like completely accurate to the time, but he teamed up with Miz for a while. I think their talk show they had was called The Dirt Sheet, and I couldn't not have these guys together. I was really pumped to pick up this Miz figure. I think it is fantastic. I thought Miz was such a tool, and I don't think I was wrong. I don't think a lot of people would disagree. Just like everything from top to bottom, he just looked like a fool, and I appreciate it a lot now. I think it's really hilarious, especially just like seeing the Miz and how far he's come. Like seeing that this is how he started is spot on. So I was pumped to be able to put these guys together. Next up, I could be completely wrong on this. I swear Yoshitatsu started out in ECW, but I could be wrong. I wasn't watching as strictly then as I had been. Like I was just getting older, more busy. So I was still watching when I could, but it wasn't like an every week thing like I was. So I did want to sneak Yoshitatsu in here because I think this figure is really, really nice. He wasn't anything ever more than a jobber, and when I started collecting, I was surprised he had an elite. But I think this figure is really cool. Like I love the dragon design on it, the kick pads, it's an awesome figure. They did a great job with it. It's just one I was surprised we got. And then the Kofi Kingston here, I just have the like earliest version of Kofi that I could in my collection. I don't even move it around. He's on ratchet joints, and these legs are super tight. But I love his all his figures. But I just think his figures were always really cool. I remember when he did debut, like I thought Kofi Kingston was so cool. Had his Jamaican accent still then, but it was always cool to just see someone super athletic, and he always had like bright tires. And I've always been a huge fan of Kofi, so obviously gonna get him in the collection where I can. But two really cool figures that I am glad Mattel gave us. Next up is my custom fix-up of Bobby Lashley from his time in ECW, and he was on SmackDown as well. But when he was originally in WWE, I thought, oh my gosh, this dude is definitely gonna be world champion. Like as a kid, I looked at him as on the same footing as how I looked at Batista, where I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely gonna be a like world champion. And you know, he had his highs and lows, and I guess you could say that about his run coming back too. But he's been WWE champion multiple times. And when he left WWE, I was pretty bummed. I was shocked. He's seemed like a guy that was going to be in WWE forever, and it just seemed like exactly what they wanted. But lo and behold, that's not how it went. But he was ECW champion. Like his biggest achievement was fighting Umaga on behalf of Donald Trump at WrestleMania, which, okay, in hindsight is even more more weird, just a weird thing to happen in wrestling. But what I did here was just take some Booker T legs and popped those onto one of the Elite Lashes we had gotten. And this torso is from a Booker T figure? Stevie Ray, maybe? No, not Stevie Ray. I think it was from one of the Elite Booker T's. His Harlem Heat figure had that more like ripped up torso, and I just wanted to do that. And you see we just have his white logo on the back, but I always thought Bobby Lashley was awesome. I'm gonna put his arms down here to put him back there with everyone, but I absolutely needed that. And we did get him in this look with the all black, and I think he might have even come with the ECW belt, but it was in that Royal Rumble line and I missed out on it, so just made my own. Next up, we've got the gold standard, and we have Hurricane, and this was like I think our Legends Hurricane, which I think is a sweet figure. Long hair Hurricane like this, I was not watching. I know that like going back, I saw pictures of him, but I don't really remember Hurricane with this look when he had real long hair. So it must have been, it was either really, really late in the Ruthless Aggression era or PG era, which I had kind of tuned out of the weekly shows, just kind of caught like the big pay-per-views every now and then if it looked cool. But figure-wise, this figure is awesome. I love the cape. I love how they did it, especially now that you can just pop the head off. Being able to have just a nice cloth goods cape like that is awesome. Gave him the double jointed arms and everything. Like, I think that Hurricane figure is fantastic. And then again, like the Shelton, I also think is really good. I think this is the Chase version, the gold standard version. I think the normal was his like modern white attire, but I searched everywhere to make sure I could get this Chase. Well, like at the time we didn't know we were going to get the Shelton Benjamin in the blue and white, so I was like hell bent on making sure I got Ruthless Aggression Shelton, even if it wasn't the version I necessarily liked. But I like the formula. I like that we got a gold standard version of him. I thought that was pretty cool. And again, like, I think it's a fantastic figure. Also a guy that I thought was going to be just more important. He was always around. He kind of mixed it up with main event guys every now and then. I think he fought Christian for the ECW belt once at a pay-per-view. So he was like always someone they would elevate every now and then. But outside of that, just always someone that people were always like, when they talk about wasted potential, they always talk about Shelton Benjamin not really getting much more of a push than being like a upper mid card guy, but still like two fantastic figures. Next up is going to be Elite Boogeyman. I think this is Elite 48, I want to say. It was the first Elite we got of him, which I was shocked. I didn't ever think we were going to get a Boogeyman. And at the time, I feel like we didn't get a lot of Ruthless Aggression figures because it wasn't super far removed from the Ruthless Aggression era, so it wasn't necessarily like flashbacks. But at this point, obviously, we've gotten a lot, and they keep like trickling into the line. But this Boogeyman figure is awesome. I have not picked up either of the new ones. I think those look great. But like, I've tried to save where I can, so I haven't picked up the new Boogeymans because I think this one is really, really good. I love the black and red color scheme. I would like the one with like the all red face paint. That one always freaked me out. But as a character, I loved it as a kid because, I mean, what the hell is like he was just so bizarre. He just like all of the like his gear was just different because he just had like stuff hanging all over him. He smashed a clock over his head when he came out. He ate worms. Just a character I always thought was hilarious in all the best ways. So the fact that we could get not just this, but then we got a new Elite and we got a chase of the Boogeyman is I say fantastic a lot. Glorious. Just glorious. Next up are a couple customs of CM Punk, and not entirely accurate, I don't think. I just kind of pieced some stuff together of Elite CM Punks that I had. Like, he definitely did not have the chest tattoo, but this figure, in totality, I didn't want to break apart because because I just didn't want to. So what I did, because I didn't really have an ECW Punk, I missed out on that ringside one, was take this head from one of his basic figures and pop it on an Elite body, and I did swap on just plain black kick pads. I think that might have been what he wore against John Morrison when he fought for the ECW belt, and then this is kind of based off the infamous December to Dismember pay-per-view that as a kid I thought was awesome, but apparently everyone hated, and it basically got Paul Heyman like run out of WWE for the time being. But I thought the Extreme Elimination Chamber was so cool. I wanted to recreate the Punk from that, and I'm like I said, I'm not 100% sure if it was accurate, but I took a Jack's head, popped that on there because I think it's a nice scan. It's a little big, but like you win some, you lose some. Not everything is perfect. But then I just painted the rest of it white, and you know, it actually might have been this figure, like this. Yeah, like this to start with, and I just repainted it all white, which is why I didn't want to do anything with this one. But anyway, those are the Punks that I have for my ECW collection. I do want to eventually chase down that ringside exclusive one, or what I'll probably end up doing is just making a custom, because that's what we do here on the channel. But anyway, those are my ECW Punks. Gonna move on to some more ECW folk. Next up are two of my favorite customs I've done. Some ECW New Breed members. I do have an Elijah Burke planned, just don't have everything together, but that'll be coming down the line. We've got Kevin Thorne, and then the alpha male Marcus Corvan, or as he was known in TNA as Monty Brown. Really, his time in WWE was pretty limited, so this figure could kind of float between TNA or ECW, but for shelf's sake, he made the ECW portion. So this was actually a work in progress Wednesday I did. I used some Booker T legs, some Booker T thighs, some Ricochet calves, a Sting torso that was repainted, a repainted Jack's head, and then some Big E arms. So the formula was all over the place, but it was so fun to make. And a character, like, why would Mattel ever give us a Monty Brown? I don't know how or why that would happen. So definitely was pretty high on my list of stuff I wanted to make. And then the Kevin Thorne, I don't love the part choices I went with. It scale wise it worked, but I feel like his leg should have been a little bit bigger. But at the time I was working with what I had. So what I did was take a Jack's head, and then this cloth piece is from his Jack's figure actually, and then I used an IRS torso, painted that, like kept the red tie and everything, and then I just painted some logos on the side. It was it was pretty easy custom to do, but like I said, it was just parts choices. I was trying to keep him in scale, and that torso made him real big, and then Jack's head is big itself too, so it was a little difficult. I didn't want to be gigantic, but I don't know, I might circle around and do that one day. But like I said, the ECW New Breed was these guys, Elijah Burke, and then he was with Sylvester Terkay, who I don't think he ever did anything besides his brief stint in ECW there. But anyway, those guys aren't here yet. We talk about what's right here. Again, we'll circle back around in a year or something and do some more Ruthless Aggression stuff. But here's my Marcus Corvan and Kevin Thorne. I was looking through my pile here, kind of looking at, just kind of seeing what was left, and these are some of my favorite customs I've had, that I've made. We've got Wrestling Machine Kurt Angle, and then we have Test from the ECW, and just like kind of Ruthless Aggression era in general. We have him in his short tights as opposed to his long hair, but the Test was one of my favorite Jack's figures. I remember having that for a real long time, and this head scan is straight from that. I tried to go with a different formula. Test was always a big dude, so what I went with was some Cesaro legs, and then the John Cena torso, like some of his elites use. Then it might actually be some John Cena arms as well, but I wanted to make sure he was nice and tall, and like Kurt Angle's not a short figure, not a short guy, and he's got some height on him, so that works pretty well. I just painted logos. I don't even know how accurate those are on his tights, but it worked for me for Test. I wasn't going to put a ton of time into it at that point. but I think it definitely works for ECW Test. And he was featured pretty prominently, and he was such an a-hole. I hated Test. I always wanted him to do more. Like, I liked him as a kid, and then as a heel, he made me so angry. He feuded with Scott Steiner in a real weird feud over Stacy Keibler, and I hated him so much. But he was also part of that ECW Elimination Chamber, which I didn't realize how much of it a disaster it was, but for the longest time, it was very nostalgic in my mind. But then when I think of ECW, WWE ECW, I think of Wrestling Machine Kurt Angle, and I guess he hated it at the time. Like, he looked at it as a huge demotion. But I thought it was awesome. He went in and just ripped people to shreds, and I really, really liked that version of Kurt, just super intense. Kind of like how Benoit wrestled, just always intense. Didn't really give guys time to breathe. I did not mean that came out wrong. Always intense, always just on top of people, and he didn't do a lot of selling. It was just go, go, go all the time with Angle. And I thought Wrestling Machine Kurt was awesome, even though he was managed by Daivari at one point. Just thought that was bizarre. But again, I've talked about Kurt Angle. There's so many versions of Kurt that I want that we have not gotten, and it blows my mind. If this is another thing that Mattel messes up and doesn't give us a lot of Kurts, like how they did with the Dudleys, where we missed out on a bunch, I'm going to be extremely disappointed. So I had to make my own, and I made this one a while ago, one of the very first Work in Progress Wednesdays. But anyway, we got a few more here. Let's knock them out. Lastly, some of my favorite figures in my collection. We've got the Ultimate Edition RVD. We have the custom Big Daddy V, and then I have my custom Chavo. And just starting with the RVD, it is a fantastic figure. He was made, the Ultimate Edition line was meant to be for RVD, the flexibility, the drop down hips, just the range of motion, everything is so nice for RVD. It came with this belt and some swappable heads, but I've got my RVD suitcase or briefcase with him from when he won Money in the Bank, and him at One Night Stand was, I'm trying to remember if they brought ECW back after the first one or maybe after the second one. I don't remember exactly, but him and John Cena at the Hammerstein Ballroom was just one of the coolest wrestling moments of my life at that point. I just thought it was so nuts. It was so cool, and then him actually winning the belt was so cool. Just a really awesome time in WWE or in just, I don't know, wrestling in general. But then we move on to Big Daddy V, who much less notable, but figure-wise, I was desperate to get one of him, and I did get the Jax figure, and if you've watched the Work in Progress Wednesday for when I made him, actually, that might have been when I did a bunch of customs, but I had started on it. I didn't really like the Jax head, and then I got this Viscera head in a lot, so I repainted that. But this was a ton of fun to do. I used a Yokozuna body, replaced the lower legs just with boots. Obviously, he's got a lot of tattoos on him, which I just got all those from Curb Stomp. And honestly, if I would be a little surprised if we never got Big Daddy V, because we've gotten Viscera, we've gotten Mabel. I don't know if they're going to give us the world's largest love machine. Also a funny point in Viscera's career. But this Big Daddy V figure is one of my favorite customs, just because I love making the big dudes. I think those are a lot of fun. And then lastly is my custom Chavo, and I made a custom Chavo because I missed out on that Elite. It is really hard to get for a not outrageous price. I think that, and then the head scan too. So I gave him the pale skin tone. I think that matches way better. And the head is from a Jax figure, so the bandana's from an Undertaker. The head is large, it's oversized for sure, but it's such a good scan that I wanted to use it. And I think by itself, I don't know, you can hide it a little bit, but that's kind of a thing with a lot of these Jax figures, is they kind of have balloon heads. So it was just something that I was used to when I was younger, and doesn't really bother me now. So that's it. That is everyone for my Ruthless Aggression Showcase. If this is the first one you've seen, you're in luck. We've got a bunch that you can go back and check out. But I had a lot of fun. Like I've said, this was my favorite time period in wrestling. For me, it had all the nostalgia of the Attitude Era with like Kurt Angle, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, even Rock and Austin were there in the beginning. Like Lesnar was huge. Like we got to see Lesnar, all the OVW guys, John Cena, Batista, like all those mixed with all of the stuff I grew up on, which was like the perfect time. And at that point, like I was really getting into the matches themselves, and match rate was like work rate was a lot more important. Just I feel like everything just mixed really well, and that is why the Ruthless Aggression era is just so nostalgic and near and dear to my heart. But like I said in the beginning, I don't know what I'll do from here. Probably a few different guys in my collection. Like I'll probably do a Kurt Angle showcase before too long. I've done an RVD one, but I've added a bunch of RVD figures, so maybe we'll go back there. But I don't know. You guys can give me some suggestions. Maybe I'll throw up like a poll or something on Instagram or on my YouTube post. But anyway, let's wrap it up. That's going to be everything. If you want to go check out the playlist of all the Ruthless Aggression videos, go ahead and go check that out. I appreciate all the support on the channel. Please remember to like, share, subscribe. And lastly, you can't buy happiness, but you can buy more action figures. Figure Dude out.